Good evening. On the edge of magic, tonight's theme, the results can depend upon the nature of the magic and also or the actions of the humans involved. Long ago in the Philippines, there lived a humble farmer and his wife. Why, they had prayed and wished and hoped for years for a child. But alas, it did not happen. And so the farmer put all of his efforts into raising vegetables, beans, taro, yellow squash. Why, he grew the largest yellow squash in all of the village. And fortunately, he loved to eat the yellow squash, and so did his wife. And then, well, she was a very creative cook. Of course, she had various ways, but plain boiled was his favorite. Well, so it passed that there were no yellow squash. They had eaten all of them, and there were no new blossoms on the vine. Well, if we can't have a child, at least let us have some of those new squash. And so they prayed. And then a blossom appeared. But it was different. It wasn't the same as the yellow squash blossom. And when it started to grow into a small squash, why, it wasn't yellow at all. It was white squash. Well, I hope it's as tasty as the yellow squash, the wife commented. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And they waited. And the squash grew. It grew rather large. And when it was ready, the husband cut it off of the vine, carried it into the kitchen area, where the wife was poised with a large knife to cut through the hard shell of that squash. When she heard, "Please don't hurt me," where did the voice come from? The squash? "Husband, come quickly. I believe the squash is talking to me." The husband came into the kitchen area and said, "Woman, you are old enough to know that squash don't talk. Cut me open, but don't hurt me." The husband heard it too. It was coming from the squash. In fact, he took the knife and very carefully cut the squash open. And what came out? A small, fully formed boy. They were overjoyed at their great fortune, for here was the child that they had prayed for. Well, he was covered with that goo from the inside of the squash. And so the wife went to the well, gathered a jug of water, and set the child on a mat on the floor and poured the water over the child to cleanse him. And as the drops of water hit his body, they reflected off as gold coins. So now there was a pile of gold coins surrounding this child. What great good fortune! And what should we do with this money, wife? Well, I think that we could definitely do with a much larger house. That's just what I was thinking. Why, a grand house, a 2-story tall house with pillars in the front and a portico and balconies. Oh, yes, that would be a good way to spend the money. But a grand house on such a small plot of land? Why, I think maybe we should buy more land. Just what I was thinking, said the husband. But we will need more money for that. And so the wife went off to the well, refilled the jug, came back, sent the child on the mat, poured the water over the child, and yes, The drops bounced off his body and fell to the ground as gold coins. They gathered up the coins. Oh, this will do. This will do to buy. Why, we could buy almost the whole village with this money. We'll have grand fields. We'll have pools of water for cooling ourselves. We'll have fountains and great gardens. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. But maybe it's better not to put all the money into one house. You know how in the summer it gets so very warm. Way too hot. And, well, other rich folks, they have summer homes up in the mountains where it's cooler. So why don't we build a home? A second home. A vacation home for us up in the mountains. That's exactly what I was thinking. And off the wife went to the well, and there gathered up another pitcher of water, came running back, set the child onto the mat, and started to pour the water when the child said, "You greedy people, I have given you all this gold, and I am here to be your son, but what do you want? More money. Well, I am leaving and taking the money with me." And as magically as that boy had appeared out of that white squash, he disappeared. And the money too. And so the wife and the farmer were left to raise their squash and dream about the days of the white squash